Nas dropped a song called Build and Destroy, and in the lyrics, he took shots at me all of a sudden.
Before I would've told you, Prodigy's my dog. Through the ups and downs, robberies and all. Though I always knew he wanted my downfall.
Politics of every hood, you know how it is. Yeah. The politics of every hood is what it is.
In the heart of Queensbridge, where concrete dreams met street survival, two of New York's most respected rap forces, Nas and Mobb Deep, once shared the same blocks, the same hunger, and the same mission: to put Queensbridge on the map. But behind the scenes of lyrical genius and classic records, tensions began to rise. Misunderstandings, loyalty and pride would soon turn brothers into rivals, setting the stage for one of hip-hop's most complex and underexplored feuds. This is the untold story of Nas vs. Mobb Deep, a tale of friendship, competition, betrayal and redemption. From the gritty corners of the 90s rap scene to the lasting legacy that shaped New York hip-hop forever. This is more than just a beef. It's hip-hop history. Nas and the Mobb Deep rapper Havoc knew each other since preschool, as they grew up in the same neighborhood, Queensbridge housing projects. In the beginning, they weren't too close, as they grew up on different sides of the projects. Nas lived in the building on 40th Street, on Vernon Avenue, while Havoc lived in the building on 12th Street. They would see each other from time to time and then start hanging out together in their teens. That's when they both started rapping. At first, Havoc wasn't too serious about it, but he quickly realized how talented and gifted Nas was in terms of rapping. Started to admire him, knowing that he's going to become one of the great ones. They did freestyle battles together and Nas always came out on top. The other half of Mobb Deep, Prodigy, didn't get to meet him until years later, since he wasn't originally from Queensbridge. He was from Hempstead, Long Island. He met Havoc in 1990, when they both attended the High School of Art and Design in Manhattan, shortly after recording the song Too Young for the Boys in the Hood soundtrack, which came out a year later. Back then, he was a solo artist who Jive Records wanted to sign. He got introduced to Havoc by his friend Derek from the Bronx, who thought P and Havoc would be a great team, since their styles are similar and they're almost the same height. Prodigy took him to Jive Records, wanting them to sign them as a duo. But Jive was only interested in Prodigy, so he rejected the deal and never came back. Havoc then brought him 3 blocks over to Queensbridge Projects, where Prodigy's mom used to work at. He used to be there almost every day until she switched jobs. He hadn't been there in about a decade. The same day Havoc took him to the projects is when he met the rapper Nas. They were drinking and listening to music together until about an hour later, when Nas's younger brother Jungle got into an argument and into a shootout. Prodigy and Havoc ran away and hopped the gate, but P's pants ended up being hooked on one of the sharp tips of the gate, so that he hung upside down, unable to move. He yelled for Havoc to come back and help him, but that's supposedly when Prodigy fell in love with Queensbridge, and when he got super close with Havoc, forming the group Poetical Prophets and starting to work on music together. A year later, in 1991, Havoc had the idea to change their group name to Mobb Deep, and they ended up using it. The following year, in 1991, when Prodigy was 17 years old, Havoc's friends from QB, Twin Gambino and Scarface Twin, pressured P into battling every rapper from Queensbridge in order to become part of their crew, the 12th Street crew. So he would walk around the projects and battle whoever was outside. P was very skilled even back then, coming out on top in all of his battles, until it was time to battle Nas, who was part of another crew called the 40th Street Crew. Same projects but different part of it. Havoc and the twins were part of the 12th Street Crew, which Prodigy wanted to join.
Finally, they told me I had to battle Nas. It was around 10 p.m. on a Friday night. Nas, Jungle, and Grand Wiz sat on the same bench on 40th side of Vernon every night. That was their bench. Yo, I got my man P right here. He wanna battle you. Gambino said. Nas was nonchalant, like, alright, corny little dude. Who does this kid think he is coming around to battle me? That's Nas. Everybody knew how nice he was back then. I had a little lick in me, so I was feeling myself. It was time to battle Nas. The twins and I stood next to Nas and two of his boys on the bench. I was nervous as hell. I spit, Nas spit, then I spit some more. We lit a blunt and passed it around between raps. When I heard Nas rhyme, I thought, damn, I can't say no shit better than that. His is way better than mine. He told me this sounded cool, and his boy said the same. I knew Nas had the better rap, but the twins always encouraged me. You the best, P. You the best. Nas was the best. Havoc was better than me, too.
After battling Nas, the twins informed Prodigy about another rapper from Queens called Cormega, who they wanted him to battle in order to become part of the family. Back then, he was seen as the illest new MC from Queens. People thought he was even better than Nas. But Mega was in prison at the time, sentenced to 5 to 15 years for armed robbery in 1991, but got released 4 years later in 1995. He will become important for the story later on when Nas and Prodigy become established artists. But in '92, they still had a long way to get there. Prodigy found out that Nas was talking bad about him behind his back, calling him whack and corny, even though he told him the complete opposite when they battled. Cause when Nas gave Prodigy feedback after the battle, he told him that he sounds dope, but now he's telling people that he's terrible, and that Havoc should go solo instead of allowing Prodigy to drag him down. He didn't even want to see Prodigy come to Queensbridge, cause he wasn't originally from there. It took years for Nas to finally welcome him into the family. And part of the reason is because they were part of two completely different crews. And all the crews were competing at the time.
Twin Gambino told me that after I battled Nas, Nas told everybody I sounded weak and corny and Havoc should go solo. I wasn't surprised. Even I thought I was whack compared to Nas. Although Gambino never made me feel that way. He told me that in his opinion, I could be better than him. Man, off Nas, Gambino said. Don't listen to him, he's just jealous. To me, Nas was the best there was. I never had any sour feelings towards Nas. I looked up to him. Gambino telling me that Nas said I was whack only fueled me. I grew to love Havoc, his family, his friends, and Queensbridge so much that I wasn't going to let anything make them turn around and say, P's whack, let's cut him off. From that day on, I went on a rap mission because I wanted to be accepted by my new friends. I didn't want Had to go solo. It sparked a fire in me. I would like to thank Nas, the twins, Havoc, and the entire 12th Street crew for bringing me into y'all world. I love y'all.
The criticism only motivated P and helped him to improve. He wanted to become even better than Nas. On April 13th, 1993, Mobb Deep dropped their debut album Juvenile Hell. And according to Prodigy himself, it ended up becoming a flop, selling a little over 20,000 copies, resulting in them getting dropped from their label 4th and B-Way Records. So for the next couple of months, Havoc and P tried to work on their writing and beat-making skills. Starting from scratch basically, looking for a label that's willing to give them a deal, a second chance. In September '93, they then gave a copy of their demo tape to the Source magazine editor Maddie C, who was also working as an A&R for Loud Records. And that's how they later ended up getting signed to the label. On April 19th, 1994, Nas dropped his debut album Illmatic, which really overshadowed Mobb Deep's quote-unquote feeble attempt at rap music, as Prodigy described it. It bothered him that Nas had such an incredibly strong record, while they, as his competition, sounded like quote-unquote amateurs. Illmatic is still regarded as one of, if not the greatest, hip-hop album in history, selling over 59,000 copies in the first week, which was lower than expected but still more than Mobb Deep sold. His 5 singles, Halftime, It Ain't Hard to Tell, Life's the B-Word, The World Is Yours, and One Love, failed to achieve significant chart success. But the project was still culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant for New York hip-hop. And according to Prodigy, it also helped boost Mobb Deep's popularity, because DJs and press people would always ask them if they're from the same neighborhood as Nas, and they would always get associated with him, get mentioned every time Nas was asked about his background and neighborhood, because they were both rapping Queensbridge. Prodigy was technically living in Long Island at the time, but he moved his equipment to the crib of Havoc's mom in QB, so that they don't have to travel back and forth every time. Within 4 months, they finished their sophomore album, The Infamous, featuring the members of the Wu-Tang Clan, Ghostface Killah and Raekwon the Chef, who were signed to Loud Records just like Mobb Deep. Raekwon was also working on a solo studio album only built for Cuban links. One of the A&Rs from Loud Records, called Scott Free, had the dream of doing a Mobb Deep and Wu-Tang collaboration. So he took Havoc and P to Ray and Ghost in Staten Island, and they made plans of doing songs together. The Wu-Tang Clan was also interested in working with Nas, and since Havoc and P saw him almost every day, they approached him and made that connection for him. Mobb Deep actually has a song with Ray and Nas on the Infamous album called Eye for an Eye, Your Beef Is Mine. They did the track within 4 hours while hanging out together and smoking weed. Multiple top-tier verses back to back, but Nas stood out from the rest of them. He was seen as the golden child of Queens. A week later, Nas actually worked with the Wu-Tang Clan again on the song Verbal Intercourse, which landed on Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links album, dropping another game-changing verse. If Mobb Deep hadn't made that connection for him, he might have not been on the song. The album The Infamous was then officially released on April 25, 1995, and became a classic, just like Illmatic. Commercially, it was also superior, going gold within just 2 months, while it took Illmatic 2 years. Nas was actually in the video for the song Survival of the Fittest. They were close, but not too close, to the point of wanting to hang out every day. Only thing that really connected them was their background, the neighborhood they represented, and their status and position in the hip-hop game. It seemed like Nas was finally starting to give Prodigy the respect he deserves. But then P once again found out about Nas talking bad about him behind his back. Prodigy's friends Twin Gambino and Draws told him that Nas called him Rat Boy in front of his homies from QB, because P had 2 front teeth that looked like they belonged to a rat. He always had a complex about his teeth, didn't smile in pictures or in front of women, because he had a slight gap between his 2 front teeth, and Nas would belittle him behind his back in front of people from Queensbridge who didn't really see him as one of their own. People who didn't want him to represent or hang out in QB. Prodigy told himself that one day when he has money, he'll get his teeth fixed. And that day came 11 years later in 2006. But yeah, back then there was a little bit of competition going on. Everyone wanted to blow up and be the face of Queens, maybe even New York. But at the time they were getting outshined by the multi-platinum rapper The Notorious B.I.G., like at the 95 Source Awards for example, which took place on August 3rd. Nas and Mobb Deep actually presented the award for the Best Artist of the Year in the group category, but they didn't win any awards themselves. Biggie, on the other hand, won in 4 categories and was the star of the event. And back then, everyone from New York was competing for the crown. Biggie was the king of New York back then. Nas and Mobb Deep were trying to catch up. This became especially relevant when the East Coast-West Coast war got out of control. Biggie and Mobb Deep were the main ones holding down New York. Nas wasn't really trying to get involved, but still got dragged into it in '96 when Tupac started lashing out on everybody. And Prodigy got upset with Nas, thinking that he's quote-unquote too scared to respond and quiet as a church mouse.
That was our little personal beef, not a coastal war. Jay-Z ain't had this to say when it was on, and he was getting dissed. Him and Nas. Mobb Deep and Biggie were the only ones from New York active in that situation.
That same year, Mobb Deep was not only in the music video of Nas's song If I Ruled the World, but also rapped on 2 tracks of Nas's sophomore album It Was Written, which was released on July 2nd, 1996. Havoc was on the track The Setup and also on Live Rap, along with Prodigy, whose verse was originally on LA, which was a Dogg Pound and Snoop Dogg diss record. But P had the verse removed so that it can be on Nas's album, where it can get more exposure. Some people interpreted it as P backpedaling and getting cold feet, after hearing Pac diss him on Hit 'Em Up. People called him a hypocrite for calling out Nas and Jay-Z later on for quote-unquote being too scared to respond, even though he took off his verse from the LA diss record. But the verse still made the light of day on Nas's album. So it's not like Prodigy was hiding and tucking tail. The project was actually more successful than the Capone-Noriega album The War Report, which contained LA. So P's reasoning for using the verse on Nas's album made sense, although he could have just as well wrote something completely new. Prodigy, however, was known for being lazy at the time. Back then he was on crack cocaine and also working on his next album Hell on Earth. So it could have been laziness, him being intoxicated, or not having enough time. It Was Written helped Nas to blow up. He went double platinum in just a couple of months and became one of the highest selling rappers in New York. On September 4th, 1996, Nas and Tupac actually came face to face at the MTV Music Awards, where they squashed the beef and talked it out. Prodigy was disappointed in Nas for not putting Pac in his place when he came to his city, after dissing New York on probably the biggest diss track of all time.
There was tremendous tension in the air. All of Queensbridge was ready to ride with us. And I'm sure Pac had plenty of soldiers ready to kill for him. We talked about it on the benches on the block every day. It would have been a mess if we ever crossed paths. Pac bumping into Nas at the MTV Awards was nothing compared to running into us. Nas was like the older wise man. Mobb Deep with the little niggas you can't control. There wouldn't have been any talking. And Nas and Jay-Z, well, I guess they just decided to fall back. Mobb Deep held it down for New York when nobody else would, because they were scared of them death row boys. It would have seriously been a problem if we ever clashed with homie. We were glad it never got to that point.
Pac died 9 days later on September 13th, and Prodigy pulled his diss track Drop a Gem on him off the radio out of respect for his family. A couple months later, on November 19th, 1996, Mobb Deep dropped their 3rd album Hell on Earth, and they featured Nas on the song Give It Up Fast. For the next couple of months, they would see each other on shows and hang out from time to time. Prodigy would talk with Nas about the Nation of Islam's 120 Lessons and the rap game. After the deaths of Biggie and Tupac, rap fans and media outlets were trying to find the next big thing, the next king and ringleader filling Biggie's shoes. In 98 and 99, rappers like Prodigy, Nas, Jay-Z, Big Pun and DMX were all competing for the King of New York title. There was also a little bit of competition going on between Nas and P, but this was mainly about being the face of Queensbridge. It also seemed like media outlets were always trying to compare them and make it seem like they're battling for the King of Queens title. And it is said that Prodigy had an issue with it. But at this point in their careers, it was just friendly competition. People respected Prodigy a lot and called him the best rapper of Mobb Deep, even though in the very beginning, Havoc used to write his rhymes and helped him to get better.
The fans always said I was the best rapper in Mobb Deep. I never felt I was better. Havoc used to write my rhymes, and he spit some of the best verses I ever heard. But that's what everybody else told me, even Havoc, so it was inevitable. See, I told you that you was better than Nas, Twin said. Do you think you better than Nas now? He'd always ask. No. But when I was sitting, writing verses, in my head I was thinking, I'm the best rapper that ever lived.
Nas then appeared on the song It's Mine off of Mobb Deep's 4th album Murda Muzik, which came out on August 17th, 1999. It was actually a single with a music video. He was also supposed to be on the song USA, Aighten, but his label Columbia didn't want to clear him for 2 songs, so they cut his verse and left it as a track without features. 2 days prior to the release of the project, meaning on Sunday, August 15th, 1999, Mobb Deep did an album release party at the Tunnel in New York. Prodigy invited some people from Queensbridge who were cool with Nas to his party, giving them 12 passes which were only good until 11 PM. Among those people were Nas's friend and rhyme partner Lakey The Kid, his little brother Sherm The Worm, Cormega, Ice, Bank, Nut, and others who were all from Queensbridge and closer to Nas than to Prodigy. Lakey and P met in 1989, but he was in prison for 7 years and got out a week before this incident, and Prodigy hadn't seen him since then. But while he was in prison, he told everyone that Prodigy and Havoc are his little soldiers, convincing people that he raised them and that he's the boss, that they're looking up to him. So he had this big ego and everyone had this fake image of him having them wrapped around his finger. His little brother Worm always had an issue with Prodigy, and he was the one spreading hatred for Prodigy within the crew. Lakey and Worm weren't fully accepting him as one of their own, but they tolerated him since he had a successful rapping career.
He played himself, you know what I'm saying? He had all these niggas out here. When I came home, that didn't have no love for him. Spank, motherfucking Sherm, Tough, the hood, the real gunslingers, the niggas that's in jail right now for bodies. These are the same niggas that wanted to get them. And I came home and I'm like, nah, son, listen, we got bigger plans than that. We ain't gonna be robbing these niggas, taking their chains, doing all that shit. Like, nah, let's get this paper. I brought niggas to the tunnel, and niggas was out there, and the niggas did not get niggas in like he was supposed to. And these niggas hated the niggas. They did not like these niggas. And now once you did that, it was nothing I could do.
P told them to come early, knowing that they're troublemakers and might get into a fight with his security, cause the passes were only good until 11 PM. They ignored Prodigy's advice and came late, expecting P to fix it, cause the bouncers didn't let them in and P had to worry about the show.
We get there, they say the tickets ain't valid. We standing outside, 3-4 whips are parked up in the spot. We were laying for like 3-4 hours. These niggas just filming with me, like they just playing themselves. They can go up in the spot. And I call him again. He like, yo, nah, son, don't worry about it. Hold on, let me get this right. I'm gonna come out and get you. Call him again. His phone is off. We leave.
Play with games like that.
The motherfucker go up to the motherfucking joint. Go get the cars. All the cars, 3 cars that we came with got stolen. That was it. It's like, yo, we getting this. This is it. And there's nothing I can say. I'm like, all right.
Nas's homies had given their keys of 2 of their cars to the valet so that they can park them. But the valet mistakenly gave the keys to some other people, thinking they're the owners of those cars. So now the whole squad Prodigy invited not only wasn't allowed to get in, but they also got their cars stolen. They all got mad and held Prodigy responsible for it. And they weren't really respecting Prodigy either, since he wasn't from Queensbridge like the rest of them. But P was making an effort to be forthcoming and helpful. Saw them as family since they're from the same neighborhood as Havoc. But Havoc kept telling him to not trust them since they're shady people.
You see, when I came home, my whole shit was getting together. And niggas fucked that up. So now once niggas didn't do that, it was on. You know what I mean? I told niggas when they came out the spot, we pulled up, I told him to get out. He got out. Now the thing was, yo, the nigga would have paid for the cars that got stolen. He would have let him eat. He got to pay, he got to do something. You know what I'm saying? Right now, he got to do something. Like, he got to do something. So now the nigga like, yo, I don't know why I got to do that, son. It was my fault. I'm like, yo, listen. Now he's sitting there, he thinking, he trying to figure something out.
So this guy called Ice, who just got his car stolen, wanted Prodigy to pay up. They were waiting for Mobb Deep to finish performing. None of them were allowed to come in. Prodigy then came outside after a couple hours and was confronted by Lakey, who informed them about their cars getting stolen and how Ice wants him to pay for it. So P responded,
Tell Ice to get out the car and tell me that himself. I said, Fakey got Ice. I knew Ice way better than I knew Fakey from partying together in the tunnel for years while Fakey was locked up. Ice had a dumbass look on his face when he walked up, like he knew he was about to tell me some bullshit, and he also knew that I wasn't gonna go for it. My car's missing, I don't know if it got stolen or towed, he said. That's not my problem, I said. I'm not paying for it. Forget about it, P, it's not your fault, I said, and got back in the car. Don't even worry about it, you can just mad because they couldn't get in, Fakey said. I tried to convince them to let y'all in, but y'all came too late. I told you the passes was only good till 11, I said. At least you tried, he said.
The reason why Prodigy is calling him Fakey is because he was convinced that Lakey set him up, calling him Fakey for playing innocent, But according to his little brother Worm, he had no clue what was about to come. Cause when Ice went back to the Land Rover where Cormega, Worm and others were in, he gave Worm a look of disappointment. And Worm was ready to attack Prodigy if he didn't volunteer to pay for the losses. So Worm got out the car and snuck up on Prodigy, knocking him out while he was speaking to Lakey, hitting him right in the nose and making him drop to the ground.
While Fakey was speaking, somebody got out the car to take a piss on the corner. I couldn't see who it was from where I was standing. Engaged in the conversation, I didn't take notice as a kid snuck around some cars, moving toward me, snuffing me in my nose. I dropped to the ground, unaware of who or what hit me. As I was getting up, I saw it was a little dirty-looking worm. He lifted the chain off my neck while I was still in the daze, and he ran to get back inside the car. Yo, what the fuck is you doing? Fakey screamed, as if confused, but right away I suspected these niggas set me up.
Worm just knocked him out. Dropped him. Now when this is on the floor, he's shaking and all that. I go grab the Sherm taking in the chain. I grab the chain because this nigga get the chain and go off. It's over. I ain't even seeing this nigga for whenever. And I gotta change this nigga. I take the chain back. This nigga is still on the floor. Me and him going back and forth, but he still ain't get up. I'm taking the chain from this nigga. We going at it. I get the chain. This nigga still there. I had to push him all the way back and get this nigga to chill and then lift this nigga off the floor. He's on the floor crying. I mean, not like I'm exaggerating. I mean crying, like crying and all that on the floor, crying. I lifted him up. His mans and them in the car. They right there watching him. They watching him get coked up. This nigga, like, they get out. One of the niggas got out before. Worm got up on him like, yo, what the fuck you doing? They get the fuck back in the car. Nigga left, got back in the car.
Prodigy suspected that Lakey set him up, cause he went inside the Land Rover with his brother. But according to Worm, Lakey confronted him inside the car, saying that it was completely unnecessary.
Why would they have Worm with them when they're fully aware of all the situations with him and Mobb Deep? They want to set me up? I'm the one who gave them 12 passes. Havoc always told me, stop hanging out in QB, don't trust the niggas. But it's not my style to cut everybody off because of a few bad apples in the bunch. I was one of the only niggas in Queensbridge actively shooting videos, movies, showing love to the up-and-coming artists, and keeping close ties when everybody else stopped coming around. I wasn't trying to be something that I'm not. I didn't let money or fame make me paranoid to the point where I was scared to come to the hood. I didn't have a reason to have fear in my heart because I'm genuine. Only liars have fear because they scared somebody will catch on to their lies. The only reason I stopped dealing with a person was if they did something foul to me, and nobody from QB ever did nothing foul until then.
In the meantime, Prodigy ran to his car to get his gun, to shoot them. But he decided against it because his friends Cormega and Ice were in the back seat, thinking that those two had nothing to do with the robbery, even though, according to Worm, the two knew what he was going to do and didn't stop him.
Worm snatched my chain and then ran. I popped open my car's hood to get my gun out to shoot up that piece of this Land Rover that he, Fakey, Spank, Mega, and Ice were in. I looked over at Stobo, and he already knew what I was thinking. The only thing that stopped me from punching holes in that Jeep was Ice and Cormega. If they wasn't in there, I'd probably be doing murder time right now. Fakey and Worm thought they were so gangster, but a real gangster almost put an end to their career as petty crooks that night. I sat in the driver's seat with the gun on my lap, itching to show these wannabe thugs how I got down. But my better judgment caused me to pull off. I'll catch them soon enough.
And if that wasn't enough already, they also robbed the Mobb Deep associate Big Noid that same night, hitting him on the head with a beer bottle and then taking his jewelry. These are all people who are close to Nas.
You knew it was a hostile situation the way they just posted up on us, and you just leave them there. So they sit in the car. So now anyway, I walked into the car, put him up in the joint, you know what I'm saying? Let him go, he crying, in the left, and he was on. Like, you know what I'm saying? He had the chain, and after that, it was like, yo, fuck it, all niggas getting it. So everybody was green light. Nigga caught Noid over here, slapped that nigga in the head with a 40 bottles, took his chain, he driving, running off in traffic and all that. This man peeled over him. He did some dukes and had this shit, dove in the window, off from cars, ass out, pulling his pants down, pulling back out the car. And that's what the fuck happened.
Prodigy was informed about the second robbery by one of the members of the infamous mob called Godfather.
Godfather called later that night, telling me that Fakey and Worm robbed Noid in Queensbridge and hit him in the head with a bottle. Somebody needs to kill one of these bummy-ass clowns. At home that night, when Kiki saw my swollen face and asked what happened, I broke down crying. Man, it was embarrassing telling her what happened. All the years I've been in QB, I never had problems with people, cause my hand didn't call for that. I wanted to murder one of these niggas for making me go home to my woman like that.
Cormega told Worm to hand over the chains, offering him to be something like a middleman so that Prodigy and his label can pay them to get the chains back, in order to make sure that Worm gets compensated and doesn't walk away with nothing. He basically wanted to make both sides happy. Prodigy gets his chain back and Worm gets money, which he didn't deserve. A lot of people were disappointed in Cormega for letting Prodigy get knocked out and then driving with Worm to Big Noit so that he can knock him out as well. And not only that, he also wants to make sure that Worm gets paid for knocking out his friend. Cormega was in the back seat the whole night, and he was the reason why Prodigy didn't shoot up the car. He was on the Murda Muzik album as well, on the song What's Your Poison? They've been friends for a long time. But his loyalty lied with the people who were from Queensbridge. He was more loyal to Lake and Worm, who were both loyal to Nas. Again, Prodigy was an outsider to them. But despite all that, Mega still had an issue with it. He still felt like he had to help P, even if he's not fully taking his side and calling them out for acting out of line and starting a fight for no reason. They then informed Nas about it, and he reached out to Worm as well, telling him that Prodigy is a good guy and that he didn't deserve it. Worm gave the chain to his brother Lakey, who then set up a meeting with Prodigy and Cormega to give him the chain back. Prodigy's nose was swollen and he had a black eye, but he still went there all alone with his gun, and then even went to see Nas in the studio.
The following morning, I called Fakey and told him to meet me in Queensbridge to give me my chain back. Fakey said he got it from Worm and could meet me whenever I was ready. When I got to the projects, I called Fakey, and he told me that he had to go to the studio with Nas and we could meet by the Hit Factory in Manhattan. Mind you, I'm by myself. No army, no gang, no soldiers. Just me and my 9 Ruger. Even if I wanted a gang, I didn't have anybody to turn to because my gang was telling me, don't do it, don't go. When I got to the Hit Factory, Fakey and Cormega met me outside, and Fakey put my chain on my neck. It made me feel like a herb, like he was doing me a favor or something. You okay? Mega asked. Yeah, I said. My eye was turning black from being punched in the nose. Fakey and Mega looked at me shaking their heads as if to feel sorry for me. Wanna come to the Nas session with us? Fakey asked. Yeah, why not? I wanted to show them that I wasn't scared. So we walked into the session. I talked to Fakey and Nas about Worm. Fakey kept telling me that he didn't know Worm was gonna do that. Blah, blah, blah. As long as Fakey gave me my chain back, it wasn't a problem for now. But Worm was definitely gonna have to get dealt with ASAP.
Worm later got compensated for those chains while P was in the hospital for sickle cell. On August 22nd, meaning the following Sunday after the incident at the tunnel, Worm went to the tunnel nightclub once again, and one of Prodigy's homies cracked his face open with a Moet bottle.
After the lame setup that Fakey and Worm pulled at the tunnel, the very next Sunday, Worm was walking around the tunnel, and one of my boys from Hempstead cracked his face open with a Moet bottle. Worm didn't know who broke that bottle on his face or why. So just to tell people he had gotten revenge, the Sunday after that, Worm went back to the tunnel with a gun and opened fire on a random parked car. After shooting half his gun clip into the car, killing a young man in the driver's seat and wounding the others, Worm tried to run. But 3 undercover cops jumped out of a car right next to the car Worm shot up, yelling, "Freeze, drop the gun!" Worm fired shots at the cops while running to his car, with the cops chasing and shooting at him. The cops shot up Worm's ride, riddling his body with bullets and almost killing him. Worm got 50 years to life.
Worm still claims that he's innocent and denies that any of this transpired, saying that he got framed for a crime he didn't commit. So when Prodigy started openly expressing to the world what happened, Worm and his homies called him a rat and decided to take the beef to the grave, because he wanted everyone to believe that he's innocent, so that he can get out of prison. But there were actual eyewitnesses there who have seen what happened. Some of them are friends of Prodigy. But yeah, Prodigy was now in a war with Nas's people. That's when their relationship started developing cracks because of the people they were hanging with. Twin Gambino, one of the people of the 12th Street crew, who was pushing Prodigy into battling Nas and Cormega to prove his worthiness of being part of the family, kept bothering and telling P to sign a duo from Queensbridge called Bars and Hooks to his new label Infamous Records. Hooks, aka Mike Delorean, was from Havoc's block and famous in the hood for dissing Nas on the song Never Personal, F Nas in Nature, a song he did in '98 with Cormega, who was kicked out of the group The Firm in 1997 by Nas, replacing Mega with Nature, who later dissed him. So Cormega started beefing with both of them, Nas and Nature, getting Mike Delorean, who was from the same neighborhood, to diss Nas. And they're all cool with Prodigy. Cormega was featured on the Murda Muzik album too. And now P is working on new music with Bars and Hooks. In late '99, Cormega and Nas had more or less reconciled, and they tried to at least stay neutral, since they're from the same neighborhood. So that's why Cormega was on his way to the studio with Nas after giving P his chain back. But Mega and Nas didn't really get along. They just pretended to be cool to not start some drama within the family. So Nas swallowed his pride and ignored the diss track. The fact that P was so close with them and was not only ready to put them on every single one of his albums, but to also sign them and help them blow up, rubbed Nas the wrong way, cause deep down he wanted them to stay underground and to never get to a level where they can become a problem for him. So Prodigy was doing Nas a disservice, seemingly on purpose, as if he couldn't find anyone else to collaborate with but the only people in Queens who dissed him. But he never really expressed his feelings about it to Prodigy. He just pretended like everything is cool, keeping his disappointment in him a secret. But then again, he knew that he couldn't just tell people to stop messing with him.
Nas started a group called The Firm with Foxy Brown, Cormega, Nature, and himself. When it came time to promote the group, Nas didn't tell Mega about the important photo shoots, including magazine covers. Mega was furious after that. Then Nas kicked Mega out the group. Mega was on a Nas mission ever since. Mega and Mike Delorean killed Nas on a popular mixtape freestyle. Mr. Bars, Delorean's rap partner, had some sick punchlines too. I signed him to Infamous Records right away.
Nas supposedly felt like it was weird for Prodigy to still hang out with Cormega, after he just sat there and allowed Worm to knock out and rob not only him but also Big Noit. And the proposal that Worm should get compensated was outrageous as well. Why would you reward the man who robbed your friend? When Nas told Worm over the phone to give Prodigy his chain back, he didn't even think that Worm deserved compensation. But yeah, these are things that Nas kept in the back of his head. This will become important later on. That same year, on November 23rd, Nas's Nostradamus album came out and featured Mobb Deep on the song Family. Shortly afterwards, Prodigy started writing a script for the hood movie Murda Muzik, in which Nas had a small role. According to P, he could sense a little bit of jealousy from Nas over his idea of shooting a hood movie. He thought Nas didn't like how creative he was. At the time, he wanted Queensbridge to be united, working on the QB's Finest compilation album, which was originally supposed to be a Queensborough project, featuring a wide range of artists from Queens, including Cormega. He swallowed his pride and let him get on the album. Prodigy was doing something similar at the time. Not only was he recording the hood movie Murda Muzik in Queensbridge, but he also asked Mike Delorean, aka Hooks, to go and find as many new rappers from Queensbridge as possible, so that they can appear on the Murda Muzik Movie Soundtrack. He wanted to make music with the entire neighborhood as one of the leaders of Queensbridge. And again, Mike Delorean was the guy that dissed Nas, so he's walking around the hood and recruiting people. This supposedly rubbed Nas and his homies Lakey and Worm the wrong way, because they felt like he wasn't originally from QB. So he shouldn't even think of himself as a leader or representative of the neighborhood. If someone is going to rep QB and bring all the people together, then it should be me. That's how Nas felt. So after hearing what P was planning, Nas changed plans and decided to use Prodigy's idea before him. Make a Queensbridge album with all the new rappers from the QB projects. Steal the people Mike Delorean gathered right in front of their faces. He saw himself as the king of Queensbridge, so he knew that all the young guys would gravitate towards him, rather than Prodigy, who wasn't selling half of what Nas was selling. So he booked studio sessions right next to Prodigy at Soundtrack Studios, so that he can intercept, instead of recording at the Hit Factory where he would usually record music in.
Nas was working on an album called QB's Finest at that same time. I found out that his QB album stood for Queensboro. He was getting all the Queens rappers together like LL Cool J, Cool G Rap, Run DMC, the Lost Boys. But when Nas heard about what I was doing with the new rappers from the Bridge, he changed his Queensboro into Queensbridge because he didn't want me to be the first to get all the new artists from QB together. Nas saw himself as king of Queensbridge, so he had to be the first to pull it off. Nas didn't know that I had people around him who would come tell me everything. Nas started booking studio sessions in the room right next to me in Soundtrack Studios. So whoever I had coming doing songs, he could intercept and have them come over to his session too. Funny ass nigga.
Prodigy was surprised by how Nas all of a sudden wanted to be friends, after initially calling him whack, and then later keeping their relationship strictly business. He was convinced that Nas finally started to respect him, and saw him as worthy enough to hang around with.
Ever since I first started coming to Queensbridge, Nas always acted as if he was too good to fuck with Mobb Deep. He started doing songs with us after Shook Ones blew up, but Nas treated it like it was strictly business. He never tried to hang out or be cool with us, and definitely not me. Probably because he thought I was whack at first. That's understandable. I would have acted the same way if I was him. But while we were both working at Soundtrack Studios, I learned that Nas was suddenly being managed by Chris Lighty, and he started calling my crib like he really wanted to be homies now. Kiki would tell me that Nas called. We were both in shock. Why the sudden drastic change of heart? The only thing I can attribute it to was the platinum success of Murda Muzik.
But he was too on his high horse to be following. But then when we went platinum, it was like, we started saying, oh, Mobb Deep better than Nas, or Prodigy better than Nas now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't even feeling that way. I was always feeling like, nah, I'm not better than nobody. Nas is ill. You know what I'm saying? I'm not better than nobody, son. I'm my own nigga. But, you know, of course, when I write my rhymes, I'm the best nigga in the world. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, when I'm conversating with you or anybody else, I'm like, nah, I deal with reality. I'm not the best nigga, but I'm pretty good. There's other niggas that's ill, though. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm always my mentality.
One day, Nas asked me to join his session and spit something for the QB's Finest. I did a verse on a song called The Bridge 2001.
During the recording of the QB's Finest project, Prodigy and Nas spoke about a new threat in the rap game that was gaining strength and becoming more of a problem day by day. The rapper Jay-Z, who was taking shots at not only Mobb Deep but also Nas on his way to the top. He had left Nas and Prodigy behind him in terms of record sales, and people were making an argument for him being the new King of New York after the death of the notorious B.I.G.
Nas and I kicked it for a few hours for the first time, talking about the rap game. I told him that I thought Jay-Z was taking shots at Mobb Deep. Jay wasn't shooting videos in the projects until he saw your video Halftime and our Shook Ones and Survival of the Fittest videos, I pointed out to Nas. The projects ain't even Jay's style. He was on some speedboat, Versace, champagne party in the Bahamas getting the tan type ish. Before his success, I had seen Jay at different functions over the years, but mostly at Club Esso, where he threw Cristal parties. Biggie used to come through too. I knew Jay's style because I watched him come up. And now Jay was copying our style. Plus, Jay and his little rap protege, Memphis Bleak, were dissing Nas on songs without saying Nas's name.
Talking about the song My Mind Rides, which came out on March 5th, 2000.
Your lifestyle's written, so who you supposed to be? Play your position.
So I say, yo, Nas, what we need to do is go at this nigga. Because number one, he got his little man trying to listen on you, talking about how your life is written and all of this shit. That's when Memphis Bleak tried to take little jabs and Nas. I was like, yo, son, these niggas is going at us. Like, subliminally, like, taking little jabs. Like, fuck that, son. We need to go at them, nigga. Let's make a song about them, son. He like, nah. Light up. He like, nah, nigga. That ain't nobody be going at, son. Ain't nobody be going at. I'm like, son, I'm telling you, son. It won't be a problem, son. We need to address it now. He like, nah. I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, I'm like, I'm addressing it on my own anyway. I don't give a fuck what this kid do. You know what I'm saying? I love you, Nas, but fuck, I'm going to handle this. You know what I'm saying? You bugging. So during all this time, I'm going at Jay-Z. I started writing songs. And then I started being like, because I told Nas, I said that shit, just talking about New York, been soft ever since Luke came through, crushed the buildings. I'm trying to restore the feeling. So I told Nas, he's like, nah, ain't nobody in here. I mean, this him, man. Okay, all right, cool, I'm dissing my own.
Nas didn't see what I saw. I knew exactly what Jay was doing, taking cheap shots on the low. Fuck that. Jay wanted to take indirect shots. It was my turn to shoot directly at him.
Nas didn't really want to get into a rap beef with Jay and decided to stay out of it. At this point in his career, he was in peace mode. That's why he also got Cormega to lay down verses for the QB's Finest album, even though the two didn't really see eye to eye. He decided to respond to Memphis Bleek's subliminally On the Bridge 2001. Prodigy, on the other hand, went all out on his next solo album. I covered Jay-Z's beef with Mobb Deep in my last video. Make sure to check it out. Prodigy and Nas had their disagreements, things they didn't like about each other but wouldn't say to each other's faces, trying to make it work and make sure that Queensbridge stays strong. At this point in time, they were so close that they would go on sex parties together with strippers and prostitutes, partying all night naked with about 10 women and their entire crew, passing the women around. Havoc, Prodigy and Nas shared 4 women together in one room. So that's how close they got in the year 2000. But things got heated again around the time Prodigy recorded the clean version of the song YBE off his solo album HNIC, which would come out on November 14th, 2000. Mike Delorean, aka Hooks, the guy who dissed Nas on the record Never Personal, F Nas and Nature, came face to face with Nas when Prodigy decided to pay him a visit in Studio B. Because again, Nas booked studio sessions right next to Prodigy, who was in Studio A. And Prodigy had signed Mike Delorean to his label, paying Nas a visit knowing that these two don't get along. Again, Mike and Nas are both from the same neighborhood and know each other. And Nas is obviously still upset about the diss track and can't believe that they would have the audacity to actually come to a studio session expecting him to just be cool with it. Mike Delorean made himself feel at home and just started touching other people's belongings, as if they're all family and eat from the same plate every day.
When we walked in, we saw Nas, Jungle, Grand Wiz, Horse and his brother Dula, and some dude we didn't know, along with a few females. Delorean noticed some big buds of weed on the countertop, plus a few bottles of liquor in a camcorder. Right away, Delorean picked up one of the buds to smell, and Nas got upset. "Yo, why you touching that shit? That ain't yours," Nas asked. "Damn, I'm just looking at the bud," Delorean said. "I wanted to smell it." Then, Delorean picked up the camcorder and started to inspect it to see what kind it was. And Nas barked on him again. "Yo, what the fuck is wrong with you, son? I told you stop touching other people's ish. Man, what the fuck is your problem? I'm gonna look at it if I feel like looking at it. What's the big deal?" Delorean said. Nas was clearly a little drunk from the Grey Goose and cranberry juice in his hand, and still had sour feelings about that old freestyle Delorean and Cormega put out dissing him. He was also clearly upset that Delorean was talking to him like that now. Nas walked up to Delorean and motioned with the cup in his hand like he was going to toss the red drink in Delorean's face, but paused and tossed it on the shoulder of Delorean's white t-shirt. There was a moment of silence. Then Delorean grabbed Nas by the throat with his right hand and pushed him up against the wall, choking him. "Don't you ever in your life play yourself like that," Delorean said. "You think I'm stupid or something? I'll kill you, bitch." All the Nas boys jumped up, but Drawers yelled, "Chill, if they gonna fight, let them fight one-on-one. Ain't nobody gonna be jumping nobody here." I screamed at Mike Delorean to let Nas go, and he did. Then we took Delorean back to Studio A. Back in Studio A, Delorean said, "P, give me the gun. I'm shooting this bird-ass nigga. Give me the gun." And I replied, "Hell no, nigga, you bugging, man. You already choked him up against the wall and he ain't trying to fight you back. Just leave him alone." After about 10 minutes of calming him down, I went into the hallway, and Nas walked up to me apologizing. "I'm sorry, man. I had too much to drink," Nas said. "Please forgive me, man. It's all good. Just forget about it." "That nigga is bugged out, though," I said. "Nah, I'm really sorry. I'm telling you. I'm just bent right now, and I overreacted," Nas said. I shouldn't have done that. That was foul. Don't sweat it. We good, man, I said. And we both went back into our studio rooms.
On November 21st, the compilation album QB's Finest finally came out and featured Prodigy and Havoc on the tracks The Bridge 2001, We Live This, Power Rap, and Self-Conscience. They also recorded a song with Run DMC called Queen's Day, which got released a couple months later. Things got heated on January 12, 2001, when Jay and his Rockefeller camp went on Hot 97 with Funkmaster Flex and kicked a couple of freestyles dissing Mobb Deep. A week later, on January 19th, Prodigy called Funkmaster Flex and asked if he, his friend E Moneybags, rapper Noriega, and Nas could come to the Hot 97 radio station that night and do a freestyle session just like Jay and his team did a week prior. They wanted revenge.
Bags called Nas so he can come with us, and Nas said he would. While we were on our way to the station, we called Flex, and he put us live on the air. As we crossed the 59th Street Bridge, Nas emailed Bags, backing out. Yo, I ain't coming. Just go up there and tell everybody who the real king of New York is. Bags read the message to me while I was driving. The real king of New York.
Prodigy then dissed Jay on mixtapes, which motivated Jay to diss him and Nas at the Hot 97 Summer Jam 2001 on June 28th, which in return made both Prodigy and Nas fire back with freestyles on the Do Up Street Dreams Volume 1 mixtape in July, which is why Jay ended up adding a whole new verse dissing Nas on the diss track he performed at the Summer Jam. This forced Nas to go and record a response record for his next album Illmatic, which was scheduled to drop by the end of the year. But Jay wasn't the only rapper he wanted to respond to, cause on July 24th, Cormega dropped his album The Realness, featuring a song called Thun Kicko with Prodigy. Mega was taking shots at Nas on the entire album, even though they had just collaborated on the QB's Finest album. Thun Kicko especially caught Nas's attention, because both Prodigy and Cormega are dissing people. Mega's verse is clearly going at Nas, and he thought that Prodigy was doing the same, but the verse was going at Jay, calling him a fake studio gangster and a fake thug, who can only talk trash when the mic is plugged in, but not face to face. Nas really thought that those two teamed up on him, so he felt betrayed, because this whole time the people Nas grew up with kept telling him to quit hanging out with him, saying that he's not even from Queensbridge, that he shouldn't be allowed to rap it, that he's fake. These were his childhood friends telling him that. And Nas would defend Prodigy, trying to keep them under control, telling them that Prodigy is a good guy and that they should treat him as one of their own. Some of these people were in prison when Prodigy came to Queensbridge, and when they came out, they were all wondering who the hell he is and why he's shooting music videos and movies claiming to be one of them. Worm, for example, was fully convinced that he got locked up because of Prodigy, and all his friends obviously had a problem with him. They would even send him death threats, and Nas was caught up in between. Those same people then tried to convince Nas that Prodigy is taking shots at him. So Nas thought back and remembered the studio session with Mike Delorean, the guy who dissed him, how he almost got beaten up while being drunk. It always seemed like Prodigy was trying to assert dominance. He started to connect the dots. Why would you sign a guy who dissed your friend and then bring him to Nas to see what happens? And then you're jumping on a song with Cormega, who is dissing him on the entire album. And if that wasn't enough, Prodigy's homie Lil Lord, aka Littles, had a line on a song called Block Value where he made some comments about Nas that rubbed him the wrong way. It was on DJ K Slay's mixtape Street Sweepers Presents C74 Ready for War, along with the song Thun Kicko and Jay-Z's Summer Jam live performance where he's dissing Nas. The people in Queensbridge who hated Prodigy handed Nas a copy of it, convincing him that Prodigy and his homies are going at him now that Nas has his hands full battling Jay-Z, as if they all waited for the perfect opportunity to take him down.
I live through shootouts, many I'm on. Souls rest through Henny I pawn. I breed storytellers. Who you think inspired Nas?
I breed storytellers. Who you think inspired Nas?
Nas took offense to it and denied ever taking inspiration from him. Littles was actually one of Prodigy's artists that Nas got on the QB's Finest album. behind Prodigy's back of course. And now Littles is saying that he inspired Nas, with Prodigy co-signing him. And Nas thought it was done intentional as revenge, cause he heard about Prodigy getting upset about him intercepting and stealing Prodigy's artists. Nas actually spoke about it in 3 interviews in December 2001. First one with Tim Westwood on December 15th.
Yo, so somebody had shipped me a copy of a K-Slay mixtape, and on that mixtape was Jay-Z's live performance where he was talking about me, and also it was like a song on there with Prodigy and Cormega, and there was a song with Prodigy and one of his artists, and one of his artists said my name and said something like, you know, something crazy, and Prodigy was on that record with the kid Little Lord, and I just didn't understand why Prodigy always had sideways feelings toward me. I also read a magazine back in the days where Homeboy said something about me, but I never said nothing, so now it's time to say something. I got Prodigy his chain back before, you know what I'm saying? When his chain got taken, I got him, you know, Nas got it back for him, so I'm definitely the one that got love for him. But see, I just gotta correct things, that's all.
Yeah, man. I mean, we heard that, man. We heard about the chain incident, man.
It's not good.
It's not good. It's not a pretty look, man. It's not a pretty look.
But I wish them the best, man. I wish them the best. They still represent QB, and I just had to air out my concerns, man. That's all.
The next interview was with Miss Jones.
People bring me the K-Slay CD, and this little dude from around my way is screaming at me on a joint, and Prodigy co-signing with it. And brothers in here, because the joint wasn't a hot joint. But I heard it. He said my name and everything. So Prodigy was on it co-signing. I thought that, you know, Prodigy, I thought that we needed order. I got love for Prodigy, but I had to speak my mind on that record because it's that type of record.
Is he even from QB?
Prodigy's from Left Rack, but he rap QB, okay. You know, he rap.
Okay.
He rap.
The third interview was with Funkmaster Flex on Hot 97 on December 18th.
You know, dudes was coming at me sideways, man, and I got love for Nature. I got love for Prodigy, definitely, but he just had too many dudes around him would be coming up to me like, yo, I don't mess with Prodigy no more, I laid it for him, blah, 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 but then be in his face and he's treating them like kings, you feel what I'm saying? I'm talking about like 20 different dudes, man. And I just said, yo, P, man, you know, and P, I mean, I always felt like, you know, I mean, it's a deep story with P, man, because that's my little brother, man, and he's like, when he, I heard a K-Slay tape, shout out to K-Slay, I love you, dog, because you keep it gully, that's why, enough. Love you, dog. Hey, yo, check it out. He was on a K-Slay tape with this little dude, and the little dude was trying to make a name for himself, talking about me, you know? Little stink breath dude, man. And Prodigy was on a record with him. So that's co-signing.
I see what you're saying.
So, you see what I'm saying?
So you say not, he didn't directly say something, but he knew what was going on.
Right, and he's also on a Mad Rapper Mega record. And, you know, they were talking greasy about me, and it was really, really disgusting and really, really feminine. The way I was being talked about by other so-called men. That's not right.
When, just to think of Hot 97 Nas, when Prodigy was up here on and off the mic, he talked very highly of you.
Yo, I got nothing but love for Prodigy. I love their album, Mobb Deep. Havoc's my man. He called me up like, yo, son, I know you ain't, yo, son, what's up? I was like, yo, I got nothing but love for y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just that we need to be clear. If we're going to keep it real, let's keep it 1,000% real. You can't get on a song saying greasy things. You can't be in a magazine, very disgusting, talking about me when, not Mob, but Mega. I'm not here to go back and forth with nobody.
Okay.
This is the last album I'm mentioning a rapper's name, period. And I just had to be real. It's time to destroy the mentality what makes our hood weak. And time to rebuild it.
Hot 97
with
Nas.
realism.
Prodigy didn't even have Nas on his radar at the time. The song Thun Kicko was recorded a year prior in the year 2000, while P was writing one Jay-Z diss verse after another for his solo debut album HNIC. It was basically a leftover track that Prodigy didn't want to use. He and Havoc didn't like it, but Mega begged him to give the beat to him. So Mega took the half-finished Jay-Z diss record and added his vocals dissing Nas. But it came off as both of them going at the same person. And at the same time, it was clear who Mega was going at. So Nas made sure that all these people get their response. He has a song on the album Illmatic called Destroy and Rebuild, taking aim at not only Cormega and Nature for constantly dissing him, but also Prodigy for hanging out with Mega and Mike Delorean, and letting his artist Littles say that he inspired Nas. He was done trying to unite Queensbridge like on the QB's Finest album a year prior. done putting so much effort into being the glue that keeps everything together while getting disrespected by the people he's trying to unite. As the title suggests, he wanted to destroy and rebuild. So in verse 2, Nas calls P a traitor, just like Cormega, someone he used to be close with until he got betrayed.
Since we on the subject of traitors and flunkies, Mega ain't the only f***er in my hood, dummies.
Nas dropped a song called Build and Destroy a few months later, and in the lyrics, he took shots at me all of a sudden. Prodigy used to be my man through all the robberies.
Before I would've told you, Prodigy's my dog. Through the ups and downs, robberies and all. Though I always knew he wanted my downfall.
Nas went from playing me close in the studio next door to asking me to be on his QB project, to intercepting my artist from Queensbridge because he didn't know who the new talent was, to calling my crib after 10 years, to playing a part in my movie, to Prodigy used to be my man. What? Was this fool schizo?
As explained early on in the video, Nas used to be cool with Prodigy, and they also collaborated on many occasions. However, Nas thinks that Prodigy always had sideways feelings towards him. And Prodigy basically said the same thing about Nas, as if these two only pretended to like each other while secretly preying on each other's downfalls.
He would say his little slicks and act real funny. But what? Your button, it got back to me.
This is him assuming that Prodigy's verse on Thun Kicko on Cormega's album was aimed at him, when it was only Mega who was going at him. Cause as explained earlier, Prodigy was dissing Jay, not Nas, so it was a misunderstanding.
People in Queensbridge told me that Nas made that song because he was mad at me for doing a song with Cormega, in which Mega took shots at Nas in his verse. Mega didn't like Nas, ever since Nas booted him out of the firm and had started dissing Nas for a living. But I didn't diss him, Mega did. Why you not confronting Mega? You scared? Why didn't you fight Delorean when he choked you up in the studio? You scared?
Asking the brave heart to help get back your jury. You ain't from my hood, don't even rap QB.
Referencing the incident where Prodigy got attacked outside the tunnel by Nas's homies Lakey The Kid and Sherm The Worm, who robbed him for his chain. The next day, Prodigy called Lakey and he got his chain back at Nas's studio session.
Asking the brave heart to help get back your jury. You ain't from my hood, don't even rap QB.
I asked the Braveheart for my chain back. Bullshit, I ain't asked for nothing. I went and got mine back by myself when some of my boys from QB told me not to. Why would Nas diss me in that song? I didn't realize the answer until months later. Nas was being just as tactical as Jay-Z. After Summer Jam, I started going bonkers on Jay-Z with diss songs. And Nas was actually jealous because my beef with Jay-Z was getting a lot of publicity.
You ain't from my hood, don't even rap QB.
Again, Prodigy is not originally from Queens. He was actually born in Hempstead, New York, Long Island. But he moved to Queens later on. People like Nas and Jay questioned Prodigy's legitimacy partly due to his non-native upbringing, disregarding the fact that he came to prominence in Queensbridge and not in Long Island. Back then, a lot of rappers from New York got very particular about who was native to what borough, so they took it very seriously where people are originally from, speaking up against those trying to rep a neighborhood they didn't grow up in. It was mainly Nas's homies who had an issue with him. They kept telling Nas not to mess with him, and in the end they succeeded to convince him. This sole beef could have been avoided had these two not allowed to let others influence them. In the third verse, he once again talks about the chain snatching incident.
So this about cleaning up house, my own backyard. Famous home of rap stars, well known be getting robbed.
Queensbridge is known for being a violent place full of crime. So if any famous rappers come in that aren't real or don't originate from the town, they will be beaten or robbed. The same thing that's happened to Prodigy.
How many times nature ashamed that jungle was busting his to get your weak chain back.
This is something that Prodigy denied. Nas said that his brother Jungle got into a shooting to get Prodigy's chain back, which is odd because Lakey and Worm are both Nas's friends. If there was a shooting, then why was everyone cool with each other the next day? Cause everyone involved continued hanging out together. And Worm himself said that he immediately gave the chain to his brother Lakey after getting a call from Nas, denying that there was a shooting. And shortly after, he went to prison.
They don't respect you, a check's due for me for your fame. Mega, I hope you blow, so I'm saying your name. Mega.
The part about people in Queensbridge not respecting Prodigy is true. That's what led to their falling out. But it doesn't really make sense for Nas to take credit for Prodigy's fame and success, since he didn't help them at all to get where they are. The Infamous helped them to make a name for themselves, especially their timeless classics like Shook Ones and Survival of the Fittest. Nas didn't really contribute to the standout songs of the album. You could say that the album Deep Cut Eye for an Eye helped them, but it was actually Prodigy and Havoc who got in touch with Raekwon and made that connection with the Wu happen. At that point in his career, Nas wouldn't have gotten close with the Wu-Tang Clan if it wasn't for Mobb Deep, and Eye for an Eye would have existed without Nas's involvement. The only reason why he's on it, according to Prodigy, is because Nas started respecting them after seeing their artistic growth and hype. Then we get to the outro, where Nas dedicated a few words to Prodigy, telling him to stop hanging out with the people that caused the beef, which are Cormega, Hooks aka Mike Delorean, and Littles, who Prodigy tried to promote and helped to blow up.
Prodigy, I got love for you, man. I love you, man. You know what I'm saying? Just get them unloyal from out your circle. You can't save everybody.
At the end of the song, he said something about how he was still cool with me and that I just needed to stop hanging around certain people. Those people being Cormega and Bars and Hooks.
Just invited you to the hood, rap it right, my. Be untouchable, my. So we be mobbed for life, for real, and that's real.
This part of the song didn't make sense. In verse 2, he told Prodigy to not rap QB, and now he's telling him to rap it right.
You ain't from my hood, don't even rap QB. Just invited you to the hood, rap it right, my.
First he told him that he's not from his neighborhood, but then he said that he was invited, and that he has the right to rap it.
You ain't from my hood, don't even rap QB. Just invited you to the hood, rap it right, my.
I'm like, damn, where did this come from? Why is he, like, you know what I'm saying? I ain't never had nothing against this nigga, you know what I'm saying? Never felt no kind of way, never did nothing, never, like, I was just mad cool with this nigga, you know what I'm saying? Put him in the movie, did mad songs with this nigga, like, why is he trying to diss me now, you know what I mean? So what he did was like a chess move. He basically tried to put this on me, like, nah, I can't let Pete. The same thing he did with the movie soundtrack. He was like, he saw what was going on, he's like, nah, I can't let Pete do it. I gotta be the one to do this, you know what I mean? I gotta be the one that makes a QB album and puts everybody from the hood on the song. I should have been the one that did the movie in the hood. Not P and Jay-Z beefing. What? Nah, I gotta be the one to be beefing with Jay-Z. So he got me out the way by dissing me. Because people go perception. So when people perception, they see Nas dissing Prodigy, they're like, oh, it's Nas, it's no P. You're like, what? So people perception automatically, like, oh, Nas is the real nigga from Queensbridge. You know what I'm saying? He is no P. Like, so he already positioned himself to be that. Now he's going at Jay. That's when he got Ether.
Prodigy actually thought that Nas dissing him was a strategic chess move to show everybody who's the main character in Queens. Cause Jay was initially beefing with Prodigy while Nas didn't want any type of smoke, saying that Jay ain't even worth responding to. But according to P, Nas then saw how much attention the beef got. So he wanted to move Prodigy out of the way so that Jay and Nas can be the only ones left on the stage, making sure that all the attention goes to them, with Ether blowing away the takeover. Nas wanted to make sure that he's the last man standing, the king of New York. And Prodigy felt like Nas couldn't do that with him in the picture, cause it would seem like the two ganged up on him. A 2v1, with Jay being outnumbered. That would have been a way to discredit him, saying that Nas needed help from other rappers from Queens to really do some damage, all while Jay is a one-man army battling multiple people. But it's more than likely that Nas was just tired of the comparisons between him and Prodigy, cause the media always crowned both of them as the kings of Queensbridge. And with Prodigy battling Jay from Brooklyn, it almost seemed like Prodigy is stepping up as the king of Queensbridge, just like how Biggie and Mobb Deep stepped up during the East Coast-West Coast war, all while telling everyone how Nas and Jay were shook. So it's not unlikely that Nas once again felt left out, just like during the East Coast-West Coast war, after seeing how much attention the beef got. It was the biggest thing in hip-hop for a moment in time, and Prodigy accused Nas of trying to steal his shine, cause everyone was convinced that it was going downhill for Nas in terms of relevancy. That was one of the main things Jay criticized on Takeover. Prodigy was fully convinced that Nas always wanted all the attention that was directed at Queensbridge for himself. And of course, he was also annoyed by his collaboration with Cormega at the time. Lakey and Worm were also in his ear, telling him to move him out of the way. And the competition between them obviously played a role as well. Cause again, people from Havoc's side of the projects told everybody that Prodigy is better than Nas. And everyone on Nas's side said the opposite. And it bothered both of them cause they were pitted against each other from the very beginning of their rapping careers. So the clash at the top was only a matter of time, even though Prodigy never wanted it to happen. He never believed that he was better than Nas. On Mobb Deep's Infamy album, which came out on December 11th, 2001, there were no disses towards Nas. But at the same time, it was the first album since The Infamous on which Nas didn't get featured. Both sides were doing their own thing, and most importantly, gearing up for a war with Jay-Z, cause he had dropped not only one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time, The Blueprint, but also one of the greatest diss tracks of all time, which came out on September 11th, 2001. In my video for the beef between Jay and Mobb Deep, I explained how Prodigy was more or less responsible for the Jay and Nas beef, cause he would have never even mentioned Nas by name at the Summer Jam had Prodigy not provoked him in a dozen songs and freestyles. And Jay really got the upper hand on him, to the point where Prodigy was not only declared the loser of the battle, but his entire career was almost in shambles had Nas not responded properly for him and undone some of the damages caused by the takeover. Cause it seemed like Jay was on top of the world, an unstoppable force that crushes anything that comes in its way, including Prodigy. But Nas more or less put an end to it and took the wind out of Jay-Z's sails, which probably helped Mobb Deep since it stopped Jay-Z from bullying other artists. Cause Nas dropped his long-awaited 5th studio album Illmatic on December 18th, responding to Jay-Z's diss track Takeover with the song Ether, and Prodigy was very happy about it, saying that he couldn't have done it any better, and that Nas completely destroyed him. So he didn't put any more effort into the beef.
When he dropped Ether, I was like, oh, I'm full back. Anyway, I could have never made a song like that, son. Wow, that was crazy, son. That was meant to be. That was supposed to be like that, Jay-Z and Nas. You know what I'm saying? Because, I'll tell you the truth, I couldn't have wrote that song. You know what I'm saying? Only Nas could come with something like that. That was ill. You know what I mean? Word, that was ill. So I wasn't even mad. I was like, fuck it, I fall back. I'm not fighting over who gonna be beefing. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck it.
So Prodigy bowed out gracefully and let Nas take his spotlight during the Jay battle. And he also swallowed his pride after getting dissed by Nas. He didn't rush to the studio to make a response record. He just wanted to move on from all the drama and focus on his career, which at the time was going downhill. If he had stayed consistent and dropped new bangers like Shook Ones, Survival of the Fittest and Quiet Storm in the 2000s, he would have been a serious problem, especially with him having gained so much relevance over the years. But while his relevance in the game increased, his pen game and quality of the music worsened, to the point where he couldn't really compete with either Nas or Jay.
I must admit, my lyrics had become a little lazy and sloppy. I was messing up spiritually and health-wise, back on drugs and alcohol. My decision-making was terrible, and it was evident in my music. My mind, body, and soul were clouded and polluted. People who paid close attention to my lyrics were saying, "You're slipping, you're not rapping the same." And I thought they were crazy. I was arrogant, acting as if whatever I wrote to the beat was hot. I was feeling myself, or playing myself rather. But I couldn't see it at that time. Even though I put my all into making good songs, my negative behavior was showing up in the form of lyrics that didn't grab people as tightly as they once did. My grip was slipping.
Prodigy stopped being a fan of Nas right around that time and stopped buying his albums. Didn't even care what he's going to drop next. Even avoided speaking on him in interviews and songs until Alchemist dropped the mixtape Insomnia, The Alchemist vs. The Cousin of Death on December 2nd, 2003. It contains a song called One Never Knows by Nas and Lake, the guy who Prodigy was talking to when Lake's brother Worm knocked him out and stole his jewelry. Both Nas and Lake throw out a bunch of questions of what could be referred to as hip-hop gossip. On the song, Lakey mentioned the chain snatching incident and how he got Prodigy's chain back.
Was he repping on an Allen taking phone time? Did he get Prodigy a chain back in 99?
Mobb Deep responded a couple months later on April 27, 2004, with the infamous Allegiance Part 1 DVD, which not only contains the Murda Muzik movie, but also a CD with new music. One of the tracks on there is called Mobb Deep, or That Mobb Deep, depending on the release. In the third verse, Prodigy belittles Nas's Bravehearts movement, the rap group of his brother Jungle, which basically flopped and never reached anywhere near the success it once had when Nas pushed the group on the QB's Finest album, with songs like the gold single Uchiwali in the year 2000.
All that Braveheart-ish you was yapping about, all that King of New York-ish that you was screaming out.
Nas was telling hip-hop fans to keep an eye out for the Bravehearts, calling them the greatest rap group ever. But when the debut album Bravehearted came out, no one was checking for it. It was the biggest flop in Nas's career, commercially at least. And he's also questioning Nas's position in the rap game and the King of New York title he was after during the J battle. The song is basically a warning shot at Nas and Lakey after seeing them throw a couple of jabs on the song One Never Knows, cause they saw Prodigy not responding to Destroy and Rebuild as weakness. That's why they kept going, trying to rub it in his face, showing people that they can diss Prodigy without any repercussions. And Prodigy obviously didn't want them to walk all over him. They thought they had him shook. So he had to make it clear that he's ready for a battle if that's where they want to take it. And once they saw Prodigy fighting back, they stopped taking jabs. On June 12, 2004, Mobb Deep then dropped the West Coast mixtape featuring a song called I'll Make You Famous, on which they rap over the classic song When We Ride by Tupac, which was on the All Eyes on Me album, dissing not only Nas but also his homie Sherm The Worm and his brother Lakey The Kid, the two people who snatched Prodigy's chain and gave it back to him.
Your little man snatched my chain and hand it back, please. Before I paralyze you, man, and fuck up your backbone and traumatize your head with bullets like that long.
Basically threatening Sherm The Worm and Lakey for snatching his chain, saying that he'll paralyze and kill them. And then in the next line he questions their authenticity, accusing them of faking their mafioso image. Cause Nas and his homies turned into mafioso rappers back in 1996 with the album It Was Written, something that was criticized by rappers like the Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac. I talked about this in my Biggie and Nas beef analysis. Make sure to check it out.
You think it's not mafioso dons, I'm a Borsellini of the infamous mob.
Then 2 weeks later, on June 29, 2004, producer Alchemist then released his debut solo album First Infantry, which features a song called TikTok with Nas and Prodigy. They went in the studio together, but several people at the time tried to mend their relationship or make the two agree to make a song together like back in the day, by letting them send in vocals without them actually being in the studio together. 2 months later, on August 15, 2004, Nas and Mobb Deep clashed at Central Park. New York radio station Hot 97 was promoting a free Nas concert in Central Park, and Prodigy wanted to be part of it.
New York radio station Hot 97 was promoting a free Nas concert in Central Park. Wow, I thought when I heard the ad, this is going to be a major event. The next thing that popped into my mind was, Mobb Deep needs to be a part of that concert. Nas and I were beefing at that time because of his Build and Destroy song. He was trying to discredit me, and I was just defending myself. I never had anything against Nas. In fact, I loved him like a friend and mentor until he showed his true jealous, envious, and greedy colors. Then I had to flip on him. I still loved him. But when I heard about the Central Park event, my business mind kicked in. Yo, let's holler at son and tell him we want to perform, I told Havoc. After you that shit on him, he probably won't do it, Havoc said. I reminded Havoc that Nas took shots at me first, and I only did what I was supposed to do in retaliation. Plus, it was petty. I told Lil Lord to reach out to Nas's boy, Tim Lord, and find out what was up. Little Lord said the same thing Havoc said. Okay, I'll try, he said. I doubt it though. A week later, Tim Lord called back and said Nas agreed.
So on August 15th, Prodigy and Havoc were brought to Nas's trailer by security guards at Central Park. They had 5 more people with them who all waited outside the trailer. Nas had his girlfriend Khalees with him. sitting on a counter with a camcorder filming Prodigy as he walked in. Nas was sitting with his friends from Queensbridge, Super Ed, and Lakey.
Yo, what up, nigga? I greeted Nas. You don't love me no more, Nas said. Why do you think we came here? I miss doing songs with you, nigga. Yeah, right, you don't love me no more, he said, playing around. Okay, whatever, man, I said. Fakey walked over and said, P, we need to talk. Then a security guard knocked on the door and opened it. It's showtime. Nas and Khalees walked ahead of us so they could hurry to the stage. Walking behind them, Fakey said again, Yo, P, we need to talk, putting his arm around my shoulder for privacy. What's up with you making these songs dissing worming all of us? You already know what's up with all that. Y'all did what y'all did, and I did what I did. But you thought I wasn't gonna say nothing back?
Lakey was talking about the disses on I'll Make You Famous and on That Mobb Deep, which were responses to One Never Knows by Nas and Lakey. Had they not brought up the chain-snatching incident, Prodigy would have never dissed them. He actually wanted to let the song Destroy and Rebuild slide, but they kept going, so Prodigy felt forced to respond.
After Build and Destroy and Ether, Nas and Fakey started saying slick shit about me on songs and being disrespectful, so naturally, I did the same to them. Now that clown Fakey was confronting me about it.
He also brought his homie Little Lord with him, aka Littles, the guy who said those lines that upset Nas about how he inspired him. That was part of the reason why Nas decided to diss Prodigy on Destroy and Rebuild. Again, this was not the first time Prodigy brought someone that Nas didn't like. He did the same thing in the year 2000 when Nas was working on his QB's Finest album. He brought his homie Mike Delorean, aka Hooks, with him, who had previously dissed Nas. Prodigy somehow always managed to bring people with him that have an issue with Nas, every time there was friction between them and things could have escalated by the slightest provocation, as if he wanted to rub it in Nas's face and see his reaction. We unfortunately won't ever know if this was done on purpose or if Prodigy just didn't make that connection in his head, that Nas could have had a problem with seeing them there. Cause every time he brought them along, they started drama. At the trailer in Central Park, Lakey and Prodigy tried to talk it out, but then Littles chimed in and everything got out of control.
Lil Lord walked over. Don't talk to that bitch ass nigga. Fuck him. You ain't got nothing to say to him, he told me. Fakey looked over at Little Lord, then looked back at me and said, Your man here is about to get you into some shit. See, I don't got no problem with you, P, but your man here is about to cause a problem. Then Fakey stepped away from me, and he and Little started arguing. What you say, nigga? Fakey said. What you wanna do? Nas and Khalees were way ahead of us now, heading toward the backstage gate. Fakey quickly reached in his pocket and pulled out his Nextel walkie-talkie phone and started chirping people backstage. Yo, son, you think they gangster? Get everybody together and meet me at the gate right now, he said. Please. Fakey chirped again. Hurry up and tell them to come to the gate now. He looked at us and said, We gonna see who tough now. When we get backstage, we'll see. Little Lord said, Cool, let's see. Nas and Khalees were already inside the 12-foot tall white gate leading backstage. When the security guard opened the gate for us, 20 dudes were waiting for us to walk in. Assuming that they were the dudes that Fakey was chirping, Little Lord and his two boys from Brooklyn punched the closest ones in the face, then another, then another. Everybody started brawling. Somebody slammed the gate shut behind us, locking Havoc and Fly outside. It was just 5 of us against 20. Fakey walked in before all of us and then disappeared in all the commotion. I noticed that for some strange reason, the 20 dudes and Fakey were all wearing dark green promotional t-shirts for Sean's album, Godfather Buried Alive. Sean was in prison serving 10 years for a shooting inside a Manhattan club with Puff Daddy. Fakey must have been helping promote Sean's album, so anybody with a Sean t-shirt was immediately considered an enemy and a target. As Rondu and I pushed and punched our way further inside the backstage area, Rondu looked at me, grabbed my arm, then pushed me to the side out of harm's way, shoving me right into Nas, who was watching the fight. My first instinct was to break Nas' face, but instead I asked him, Hey, yo, what's up with all this, man? You set us up? Nas acted like he couldn't hear me. Khalees sat on the edge of the stage, secretly filming the fight. I looked around for Fakey, but didn't see him anywhere. Suddenly, all the Shine t-shirts started scampering away. Little Lord's 2 Brooklyn boys had knives out, blood dripping from them. "Come on, we are going!" They taunted the Shine dudes, some of whom were taking their Shine t-shirts off and pressing them to their stomachs, chests, and heads to stop the bleeding. "Come on!" I spotted Fakey hiding behind a staircase leading to the stage. Just as the fighting stopped, Tim Lord handed Nas a microphone, and Nas began his show with New York State of Mind. Little Lord and Rondu walked over and asked if I was okay. "Yeah," I said. "Look at Fakey hiding behind the stairs." "Pussy," they barked at him. "What's up now?" Fakey stayed quiet behind the stairs and just looked at us. Khalees kept filming the action backstage, then turning the camera towards Nas performing.
Khalees was filming the entire fight, and Prodigy thought that Nas set him up to not only get him and his crew beaten up and humiliated by 20 people, but to also have it recorded to end his career by posting it online for everyone to see. Cause back then people were questioning Prodigy's authenticity and background after Jay-Z exposed him at the Summer Jam 2001, where he put up pictures of P dressed as Michael Jackson. People started calling him a fake gangster. Posting a video of the quote-unquote fake gangster get beaten up would have been the cherry on top, the nail in the coffin for him. Something that not only Jay-Z fans and Nas fans, but also his haters would have used against him to discredit him even further, even though there's nothing honorable or respectable about 20 guys jumping 5 people. A fight that not even the strongest man in the world would be guaranteed to win, especially when knives are involved. But that's how it is on the internet. People don't care about honor and pride. One viral moment of you being at a disadvantage is sometimes all it takes for you to lose face in the public eye and be shunned by the community. And Prodigy at that point was convinced that that was Nas's plan. End his career by getting him beaten up and posting the video on the internet. Nas was later asked by King magazine if he was responsible for the fight and if he really set up Prodigy. And the reason why they asked is because Prodigy requested it. They told Nas, "I ran into Prodigy last week and asked him, what should we ask Nas?" He said, "Ask him what happened backstage at the Central Park show in 2004. So Prodigy wanted them to ask him if he was responsible for it. To which Nas responded, "Nah, I would never do that to him. We had our differences," which was really just hyped up bullish. I wish everything for Prodigy. They caught a lot of bad breaks, and I would love to see them come back again. I would be the first person in the record store buying a Mobb Deep album. I want to see them give it to us many more times. The fight, however, did happen, and they were all wearing t-shirts of the rapper Shine, just like Nas's homie Lakey. Nas either implied that the people Prodigy fought were following someone else's orders, like Lakey for example, or they weren't even part of their team, and Prodigy just fought a random mob of people who had no relation to Nas's camp. But then why did they all wear Shine shirts? And who did Lakey call for backup with his walkie-talkie? Was it all just bluff? Or was Prodigy right to assume that Lakey and possibly Nas set him up? One thing is clear though. Nas didn't try to break up the fight, or didn't try to help. He was right there acting like Prodigy didn't even exist, while his girlfriend Khalees filmed the entire fight. And minutes later, Prodigy and Havoc were brought on stage to perform the song Eye for an Eye with Nas, and they all pretended like nothing happened.
The only thing on my mind was, what if these niggas try to pull some bullshit while we performing? The music stopped. "I want to bring out some very special guests," Nas announced as his DJ LES dropped a beat for Eye for an Eye. The crowd went crazy. That was the first time we ever performed that song together, live, though we were missing Raekwon from Wu-Tang.
What up, Mobb Deep? Let me tell you something, man. I love these niggas. I love my niggas.
After we performed our single, Got It Twisted, from America's Nightmare, Nas stood between Havoc and me with his arm around our shoulders, kissed us both on the cheek, and told the crowd, "I love Mobb Deep. These my niggas again."
Queensbridge, baby. Queensbridge, baby. Mobb Deep and all that.
We regrouped with our boys backstage. We gotta pay attention walking out of the park because these niggas might try to ambush us, Little Lord said. But nothing happened.
Khalees supposedly recorded the stabbing as well, cause Prodigy's people stabbed a couple of them before they ran off. So at the time, he didn't really know what they were going to do with that footage. According to Prodigy, Nas's plan backfired and they couldn't use the footage to humiliate Prodigy on the internet, since they had the upper hand even though they were outnumbered.
I wondered, did Nas set that whole shit up? Or was that just Fakey? Why was Khalees taping it all? Fakey better hope Nas never released that footage, because it would be proof that he's a bird and couldn't back it up when real again called his bluff.
Nas and Prodigy didn't speak after that, and neither of them made an effort to fix the relationship. According to Prodigy, the beef was still ongoing. No one knew what happened backstage at Central Park. They just assumed that they were cool again. But that wasn't the case. Shortly afterwards, the rumors of Nas setting them up started to spread. And people couldn't really make sense of it, since Nas showed them love and respect on stage. How do you set someone up and then kiss him on the cheek afterwards? It didn't really make sense. And if everything is fine now, why are you still holding a distance from each other? It seemed like nothing had changed, and the peacemaking on stage was just show. Prodigy then started holding a grudge against him, cause he came in peace. Shortly after the Central Park incident, Prodigy's people spotted Nas in California at Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles, sitting there by himself talking on the phone. Prodigy's people surrounded Nas and then called him, asking P what they should do to him, and Prodigy supposedly let Nas walk away unharmed. A year later, in June 2005, the rapper 50 Cent signed Mobb Deep to G-Unit Aftermath, and at the time 50 and Nas were beefing, so people were curious to know how Nas would react, and he only spoke positively about them in interviews. He said, "I was really happy to see 50 embrace them. I thought that was G because that's something that doesn't happen from the higher-ups. All these big companies, they don't care about us. They don't care about the talented ones that aren't given a fair shot. And I thought it was a good move on 50's part to give them a deal." So yeah, he was happy for them. On August 15th, 2005, Nas dissed not only 50 Cent but also his old friend Lakey on the song Don't Bother Yourself, the MC Burial, cause Lake started disrespecting Nas for not signing him. So now the two people in Nas's camp who hated Prodigy the most and hindered him from being cool with him were now out the way, Lakey and Worm. There were also some developments on Prodigy's side. In 2001, Prodigy and Mike Delorean parted ways after an incident involving theft from Havoc's apartment. Again, Mike Delorean was the guy that dissed Nas. And then in 2004, Prodigy also severed ties with Littles after he tried to sell Mobb Deep's beats twice, without permission. So the four people who more or less started the beef between Nas and Prodigy were now gone, but the beef was still not squashed. A year later, on April 11th, 2006, DJ Who Kid's mixtape G-Unit Radio Part 20 Mobb Deep Best in Business 2 came out, featuring a song called Snitch, on which Prodigy once again took shots at Nas, using the same beat and hook of Nas and Lakey's One Never Knows from the year 2003, where they dissed Prodigy by mentioning the chain snatching incident. Now 3 years later, after P got signed to G-Unit and after they hugged on stage at Central Park, he shoots back at them by saying that he's rocking the beats better than Nas and Lakey.
MOBB, the best in the business. PIMP, sound better over this ish than the first bum that did it.
Again, the first ones that did it were Nas and Lakey. Mobb Deep is rapping over the same beat, but quote-unquote better.
We on MTV, when it's on you not a G, done. You a diva. If that's going, get your hands and your feet done.
At the time, 50 was the biggest thing in hip-hop, and he took Mobb Deep to all the shows and on MTV. Their movement seemed to be unstoppable, while Nas's rapping career was only slowing down. He wasn't making as much noise in the streets as in the 90s and early 2000s. It seemed like Prodigy went back to war mode and regained his confidence after finally finding a team that can help them reach their full potential.
You at your record label, over there stuck, begging the president to push your stuff.
This right here is a reference to Nas signing to his former rival Jay-Z's label Def Jam in January 2006. Jay and Mobb Deep were beefing back then. So Prodigy thought it was a weak move of Nas to ask Jay for a deal after beefing with him. Cause Jay had become the president and CEO of Def Jam back in 2004. And a lot of people were saying that Nas bowed down to Jay and that Jay won the war. At this point, Nas was back to peace mode. He was just ignoring anything negative that Prodigy said about him. Was actually happy for Mobb Deep that they finally get the recognition they deserve. But things came to a halt on October 8, 2007, when Prodigy was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for criminal possession of a weapon. He started serving his prison time in March 2008. And then a month later, on April 22nd, Prodigy's team released his next solo album HNIC 2, on which he once again dissed Nas, like on the song Real Power as People, for example.
Talking that shit about hip-hop dead. Nas live from behind the gate, permanent smiley face.
Nas dropped an album called Hip Hop Is Dead on December 19th, 2006. The title and concept of it really annoyed Prodigy. He didn't agree with that statement at all and criticized him for it.
I just feel like that whole hip-hop is dead. Like, why would you say some shit like that? Why would you promote that? You know what I'm saying? Like, who gave you that idea? Because I know he ain't come on with that. Somebody put that in his ear, and that's a conspiracy to kill rap. Hip-hop is far from dead. You got young kids that love hip-hop. You know what I'm saying? They just starting. Look at Soulja Boy popping off. Hip-hop dead how? What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? So for you to make a statement like that, it's just like, wow, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, he might have an attitude like, yeah, the Soulja Boy, look at his style. That's what I'm saying. Hip-hop is dead. Just because your shit ain't popping no more, you know what I'm saying? Like, you feeling old or something, man? Like, what's the real problem here?
Nas explains how he felt about the current state of hip-hop in an interview with MTV. When I say hip-hop is dead, basically America is dead. There is no political voice. Music is dead. Our way of thinking is dead. Our commerce is dead. Everything in this society has been done. It's like a slingshot where you throw the mother effer back and it starts losing speed and is about to fall down. That's where we are as a country. What I mean by hip-hop is dead is we are at a vulnerable state. If we don't change, we're gonna disappear like Rome. I think hip-hop could help rebuild America. Once hip-hoppers own hip-hop, we are our own politicians, our own governments. We have something to say. Prodigy dissed him again on Young Veterans.
You do something sweet, believe Jay if you want. Your head believe Nas or whoever you choose. You come on over here and you gon' see the truth.
In prison, Prodigy wrote a book about his life. It's called My Infamous Life, the autobiography of Mobb Deep's Prodigy, which came out in 2011 when Prodigy came out of prison. In the book, he thanked Nas for inspiring him, while at the same time speaking harshly on him and his crew, especially about Lakey and Worm. They, along with other people from Queensbridge, were all upset about what Prodigy said in the book, cause he was basically describing what Sherm The Worm did before he got arrested. How he shot and killed innocent people in the attempt of trying to hurt Prodigy's friends. Cause again, Worm denied that any of it happened, saying that he got framed by the police, and that he's innocent. The people from Queensbridge then labeled him a snitch and traitor, saying that he's not welcome in Queensbridge. But by that time, Prodigy wasn't even living there anymore. While in prison, Worm sent people to find and confront Prodigy, but nothing happened. The first thing Prodigy did when he came out of prison is to call Nas and to make peace.
He called me as soon as he got in touch with me. As soon as he got out of jail, he got in touch with me. And, you know, we talked about some things. I didn't know he had a book. I didn't know anything. He didn't tell me that. But I guess he wanted to just clear the air on some past things that don't mean anything today, you know? Yeah, so he called me up and we kind of said, cool. He sent me a record and asked me to jump on the record. And I just, you know, jumped on the record, like, you know, put that to the side, to the past, whatever ill feelings he had toward me. I think he was misinformed about things and, you know, like I was a negative guy or that I was trying to harm him or in any kind of way. And I think maybe he just grew up a little bit, but you know, I've been hearing that the book is a little
stirring up some stuff yet. You know, tell the truth. If you're gonna write a book, you know, tell the truth to the best of your ability. That's all I would say to anybody. Just tell the truth. If you're writing a book that's gonna try to paint you in a picture of you in a way that makes you feel like that's not cool. If you're writing a book just to air out somebody else's secrets. But you know what? At the same time, people do what you want to do. I had books written about me before, and it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
That is true. Yeah. You survived it.
Yeah. So you know,
when we make songs together, man, it's just like it's another level. Like it's like incredible music. You know, it just gives you that feeling. It's like nostalgia almost. You know what I mean? And the music is just real powerful when Mobb Deep and Nas work together. So I said, we got to keep that feeling going, man. Like we would be fools to just stop doing that because of whatever petty bull that was going on. Because it's really not even serious. Like it's some petty bull. You know what I'm saying? So he basically agreed. Like, yeah, you're right. You know what I'm saying? And we started doing songs again. You know, we had a long talk about, you know, the little details or the causes of the petty bull. You know what I mean? And we put that aside and we was like, all right, let's start doing some music. So we started that and we made the dog. We made a couple other joints that's crazy. And, you know, so that's what it is, man. Nas is like King Queensbridge, man. He's the man out there.
During the phone conversation, Prodigy invited him to come jump on a track with him called Dog-ish. Havoc then announced a full Mobb Deep and Nas collaboration album. We're gonna do a Mobb Deep and Nas album. It hasn't begun, but we tipped the iceberg a little bit with the Dog-ish. I think as we was working, doing songs back and forth with Nas recently, I think it was just a mutual thought, like, yo, let's make a effing album. Everybody was like, yeah, that would be dope. What we waiting for? Let's do it. Unfortunately, the album never materialized, but they once again performed on stage on August 27th, 2011 at the Rock the Bells Festival. On November 21st, Mobb Deep then released the Black Cocaine EP, featuring the song Get It Forever with Nas on it. Afterwards, they didn't really interact much, but always showed each other love and respect in interviews. Havoc and P actually started beefing shortly after, but they managed to squash it before Prodigy died on June 20th, 2017. Nas was of course saddened by it and shared his condolences on Instagram. He even performed a tribute at a festival shortly after.
Prodigy personified. He spoke the language of our community, raw, uncompromised, and we just lost him, man. So let's bring him back in a spiritual sense tonight. R.I.P. Prodigy!
While Nas paid his respects to his old friend, Sherm The Worm, the guy that snuffed Prodigy in 1999 and stole his chain, gave orders from prison to vandalize and destroy Prodigy's mural. Because again, he's serving a life sentence for trying to shoot Prodigy's homies and killing innocent people in the process. They didn't just vandalize it once. They did it again after they restored it. And this is not something that you restore within a couple of minutes. These beautiful murals sometimes take days. They were ruining days of work within just seconds, to the point where the artist just gave up and stopped restoring it, cause Worm's people would have kept doing it. So now the wall is empty, the mural ain't there anymore, and Sherm The Worm's people got what they wanted, cause they didn't want the Prodigy mural in Queensbridge. And the reason for it, and I quote, is because Prodigy is not from Queensbridge, and there are actual deceased legends from QB who deserve to have a mural but never got one. As if the wall they decorated is the only wall in Queensbridge, and as if you can't have multiple murals honoring your legends. Instead of using that energy to create murals for all their fallen soldiers to honor and respect them, they choose the unnecessary path of destruction and chaos, disrespecting him even after his death, for the simple fact that he wasn't born in Queensbridge. Nas actually spoke about this incident 2 years later on the song Queensbridge Politics, which was on the Lost Tapes 2 album, released on July 19th, 2019.
Why Prodigy Mural get vandalized? Why Prodigy? The project politics, obviously.
Worm was also mad about the things Prodigy said in his book. All the insults and of course the story about how he got arrested. Because again, he's serving a life sentence and tried to have everyone convinced that he got framed. But Prodigy's friends saw what actually went down. And P wrote everything in his book. Now Worm thinks that he's blocking his way out of prison. In the song, Nas then said that he wished the book never came out, and that he and Worm had made peace before Prodigy passed.
I wish the book never came out and everything got straightened out before you left.
I never thought we'd lose P.
Right.
And we lost him too soon. May he rest in peace. Yeah. It's hard to get into it because he's not here.
Right.
You know, so it's a lot of things that went on that I wish never happened.
Right.
So that...
Like you even say, I wish you never wrote that book in the rhyme. You say that.
Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah, that was... Yep. You never know why people do certain things, you know, so I think P was probably going through a lot of pain.
Right.
But the politics of every hood, you know how it is. Yeah. The politics of every hood is what it is.
Then he talks about the last time he saw him before he left.
Before you left, I saw you, it was all love, except we needed to build more and get things correct.
Prodigy was at the office of Nas's label Mass Appeal, cause Nas's team was producing a TV show for him at the time. He didn't really have the time to talk to him on that day, so their conversation was interrupted and held short. They never got the chance to finish their conversation, since Prodigy passed.
Now I gotta accept it, cause there's honor in death. Wish you was here with us, P.
I always looked at them as the illest group ever. They are pure, hardcore, like everything about them. The way they were, the way you saw it, the way they looked, the crew they was with, just it was a lot of wildness. It was but P had a real cool demeanor. He's very intelligent, and his talent is crazy. And I thought that in the beginning there was always them putting them against us, against me, so in subtle ways in the hip hop press back then, or they would write things about them and compare them to me a little bit. And I don't think Prodigy liked it because he's his own voice. And at the time, his crew and my guys, we was from the same neighborhood, but they was going to war. And that probably added to the tension. They were in the streets while we were making it off into music. And, they was going to war. So, we never got around that much to squashing all the beefs all the time. In the hood, they would go at it. Out of town, we was all together and just in the nick of time. So we had that QB on our back, and Prodigy is a super saluted general representing QB, but there was tensions along the way because regular rap tensions.
And since then, Nas kept shouting him out on shows, kept praising him in interviews and showing love and respect every chance he got. He was even on Mobb Deep's final album Infinite, which came out on October 10th, 2025, featured on 3 songs, Down For You, Pour the Henny, and Love the Way, Down For You Part 2. In the end, the beef between Nas and Mobb Deep wasn't just about diss tracks or egos. It was a reflection of the raw energy that defined New York hip-hop in its golden era. A time when every lyric mattered and every word carried the weight of the streets, where people got checked for rapping neighborhoods they weren't originally from. Both sides grew, evolved, and eventually found respect in what they had built. From the chaos came legacy. The same hunger that once fueled the beef is what made Nas and Mobb Deep legends in their own right. Their music became timeless, their stories became lessons, and their rivalry became part of hip-hop's DNA. Like, share, and subscribe for more hip-hop content, and see you in the next video. Peace.